everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and tonight is our monthly Power Circle community event where we gather around some topic, and tonight's topic is Mercury Retrograde in 2025, which is going to move through fire and water signs. All right, welcome, everyone. Tonight we are gathered around the Mercury Retrograde for 2025. We want to properly pre-plan and prepare. We also want to use the current one going into Sagittarius to sort of warm us up and prepare us for a whole new vibration in the new year, which is moving through the fire and water signs. So that is our emotions and our thoughts, mixing it up together. Our mental that Mercury rules moving through those emotional water signs. So deep breath, that's all I can tell you. We are in for a ride, no doubt. I want to say up front that Mercury retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year every year, so we get a chance to work with our mental body and review our ideas, thoughts, and concepts and our perceptions of the world. Pretty much every quarter, Mercury is pretty on it. Once you get the rhythm to it, it feels like it's every quarter, and it is about a 3-month process because I tell folks with a Mercury retrograde, it's basically 3 weeks before, 3 weeks of, and 3 weeks after. Powerful 3 energy going on. There is the activation or illumination of what needs to be reviewed, and then there's the actual review, and then there's the moving forward with whatever reorganization of the thinking, the ideas, what have you. All of that gets reset every time Mercury retrogrades. So we want to get in a rhythm of giving our mental body a break pretty much quarterly, or at least every Mercury retrograde should be your reminder that it's time to pull back, digest, process, and integrate what's come up in the last quarter, essentially, and reset things consciously. Otherwise, you're pushing through trying to make things happen when the energies are reversed, and that can always trip you up. And you may be operating on ideas that in your heart and soul have already shifted. And sometimes it takes a minute for the mind to catch up, okay? So getting in the rhythm of 3 to 4 times a year also alerts you to the fact that out of that 3 to 4, at least one of them is going to hit you personally the hardest. So that's the other reason why I believe in being prepared for all 3. For 2025, there's going to be 3. They're going to fall in Aries, Pisces, all Leo, and then Sag, Scorpio. So what I've done tonight is broken those up into 3 sections with their divinations so that when we have to go back and review, which we're going to have to do by January, February, we're going to want to re-listen to this audio specifically to get a beat on how we need to prepare. I'm going to go over the overall tonight so that it's already here and in the recording and people can circle back as needed. And I will prompt you in the weekly forecast as the year gets underway. But for now, I want you to understand just the general cycle so you can start feeling into what that might look like for you, how it's manifested for you in the past, thinking about that as well. There is a little bit, it's hard to track, it's not exact, but it's approximately every 5 years when Mercury will retrograde through all one element. And when it does that, it does kind of intensify the rewiring that Mercury is famous for, right? So what kind of came to my attention while I was researching this one was how 2025 has a huge vibration of ending, new beginning. We're on the cusp with a lot of the major planets. Jupiter already splits the year, but it spends one whole year in a sign, but it's going to spend the first half in Gemini and the second half in Cancer. So there's a little cusp, Gemini-Cancer cusp. And then we have Saturn and Neptune both on the Pisces-Aries cusp and Uranus on the Taurus-Gemini cusp. So there's this huge individual, social, and collective shifting going on. While Mercury goes back and forth in fire, water, this is our emotions and our passions and just being really deeply activated in such a way that's leading to 2026 when it's going to be retrograde in all water. And the last time we did that was when COVID hit in 2019. So I just feel like we're already being pushed into this weird mental, emotional zone because of the social collective shifts, that it's better if we choose how we want to navigate that and set an intention, call in your spirit team to guide and support and protect you along the way, to ask for your learning, which Mercury is also responsible for, to be with ease and grace and not pain and suffering and tragedy and loss. We don't have to learn that way anymore. So feeling into how you want to navigate is going to be critical to how this unfolds, because the flip side of, because see, let's say shadow side of fire water would be having our emotions triggered. So being triggered in the world, I call it activated because then it feels a little more empowering. But trigger feels like a victim, but that's what it's going to be. And so to have your emotions activated and then the fire, whoosh, I want to fight about it or respond to it or change it or fix it or whatever. That water to fire dynamic, which all of us know if we have it in us, right? I have a lot of fire and water. You can trigger my emotions that activate the fight. And I don't want to be that way, but it is what it is. So the emotions and the thinking are all tied up together. And we want to stay grounded in our body, consciously co-creating. So because we know that, and we're going to get all stirred up now, just imagine how deep 26 is going to be when we've moved. Not only is that 25 is a 9-year, which is also completions, which means 26 is going to be a 1-year, and we're going to have all this water. Now, like I said, that was the shadow side. The light side of that would be creativity. Ultimate creativity, because fire and water does that. They work really well together when they're being creative. Otherwise, they're combustible and they like to blow shit up. So we have to know the two sides of the energy that's available to us in our minds. Think Mercury mind, your mental, and Mercury's personal, private, individual mental. What you think, how you perceive things. So it's also a time for you to pull inward and reset, recalibrate, and tend to your mental body in some kind of way. The biggest thing I think of for this day and age is the input-output recalibration that needs to happen. It's so critical for us to enforce our boundaries so that our input-output stays balanced. But we're not trained for that, so nobody really knows how to do that. And then families and friends don't support that, and so then nobody can ever get strong with holding those good boundaries mentally. But I can't encourage it enough. The crazy's getting dialed up, not dialed down. So in order to protect your own mind, you're going to have to create some boundaries and some protocols that work for your mental system to be able to process what's coming in and to be able to digest, integrate, and deal with so that you can send out messages that you need to send out, right? So just think of this year, 2025, as being super, super creative in so many ways, but also boundaries are going to be the key, or being grounded in your body is going to be the key to not blowing up or imploding or exploding, right? Let's be mindful. Let's think about these things, because mental means it's a concept. Mental means it's an idea. Don't let your body get twisted over an idea, okay? So that's when you have to develop your practices for being in your body, which tells you what is real and what is happening, right? The monkey mind can take you on little journeys. I mean, you learn things. They're not for nothing, but they are detours and delays that we don't always want to deal with. So let's think. Mercury represents how you think, communicate, and express yourself, and is useful to track for your own mental health and well-being. Mercury retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year, so it's a good idea to note when that's going to happen, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. You'll want to pay attention to 3 weeks before, 3 weeks of, and 3 weeks after. That's the 3 I was thinking of, and Mercury's related to the 3, Legba, all that good stuff, the path opener at the crossroads. This is another thing that we can dial in for those of us practicing with the Orishas. Me and Yeye are going to do something very soon on the planets and the Orishas. I'm working on an outline now. But there's another, let's say, filter to run it through so that you know how to proceed with Mercury. That makes it a little more sacred. It does it in a very regular rhythm, and it basically has to do with the elements, which is why I went off on a tangent there first. And they always follow this order: fire to water to air to earth, back to fire to water to air to earth. That is the order. All one element happens every couple of years, usually, and is the particularly potent one to pay attention to. Basically, what we're looking at is what I've already told you about and how we're moving toward that all-water year. Now, when it goes retrograde, I kind of like to lay the general stuff out, and then we'll get to the specifics. With the general retrograde, the issues being brought into light at this time have to do with your personal thought patterns and cycles, your individual ideas, thoughts, and concepts. So this is what's getting rewired. How you learn, communicate, and express yourself, which theoretically should be upgraded 3 to 4 times a year. We grow in our consciousness. We shift in our thinking. We develop our ideas to be able to express them better. So we should be improving with each one, but a lot of times it's just a lot of wah-wah about what's not working when Mercury goes backwards. So that's the other thing I'm trying to train y'all to do, is to turn inward, to pull in and do more divinations, be more of a receiver, right? Do more listening than talking during a Mercury retrograde. You know, how you perceive reality or your personal filter or lens gets a nice cleaning every time Mercury retrogrades. How you think and process information internally and externally needs a little nod every couple of months to make sure that you're actually processing what you think you are, right? The retrograde effects bring on those divine delays, like I said before, but also revealing reversals. So I also tell people, don't trip on the retrogrades. A lot of bad press out there in mainstream astrology, but I'm here to tell you they're most often divine, and that sometimes if things are already going backwards and sideways and not going the way you want them to go, a retrograde can actually help you make the corrections. It can right you up and make that turnaround a positive thing. So don't always expect it to be negative. And we often change our thinking altogether during a retrograde. It's like all of a sudden we can see things from another angle, other information is revealed, or if you have your receivers on, you're receiving other information that you weren't paying no attention to. And now you can listen and get some additional information from your higher self, your soul self, your spirit team, whatever you want to do, all of the above. Recognize, help them, or ask them to guide you on the turning point or the new or different direction. Any retrograde or direct, when a planet goes backwards or forwards, it pauses, goes station is what they call it. They stand stationary, very still for a couple of days, and then they move on, just like the sun does with the solstices. So we have this little pause. That intensifies whatever planet it is, not just Mercury, but any planet getting ready to retrograde or go direct. Slows down, pauses, and intensifies that energy. So here's where that mental energy gets churned up, especially at the retrograde and direct points, which we'll talk about. When it's backwards, we should review, revise, revision, go back over. There's something you missed. You know, there's some detail you need to make the right choice and decision. A realignment is necessary to rethink your ideas or your own thinking. Go through those filters. Is this relevant and useful or a distraction? Is this a hidden potential or a blind spot? Is this real or perception? No, is this me or someone else? You really want to clean those filters. Get that different perspective and try to see things from another angle. The area of life, which again will be specific to each one. Aries, Pisces, cusp, all Leo, and Sag, Scorpio for the year of 25. So it's going to be those houses where Mercury lingers, initiates a new cycle, initiates new thinking, new possibilities for your ideas, and then moves on to the next thing. So you want to co-create with the changes and initiations happening in that exact zone, but then you need to know that the other three zones will be activated by default. So other parts of your life are going to have to shift and change to accommodate the new thinking, the new beginning, the new cycle. Okay? So that's where we want to make the adjustments, tweak and fix, to reflect on and change your thought patterns consciously. This is where we might have our reversals of thinking in the Aries Pisces house, in the Leo house, and then at the end of the year in the Sag Scorpio house, where you might change your mind about something. It's where we need to tend to the details and anything that you've postponed. Mercury retrograde is best for finishing projects and tying up those loose ends and getting organized so that forward movement is actually productive. So it's a good thing to learn how to play with. Talk less, listen more, I think I already said. Chat less and say more. Okay, fewer words, more power. Process and reflect on changes in the past 3 months, especially around your thinking or ideas. Research and develop your current ideas or finished projects. That's another thing that's really good to do. The questions to contemplate for a Mercury retrograde, any Mercury retrograde, like everything I'm talking about now applies to all three. Who and what are you a voice for? This is where we pause and ask the questions. What is your favorite form of expression? You know you have infinite choices. Or how could you activate a new medium of expression? You know, I'm really a linguist and a wordsmith, and I like words. But I'm learning, messing with Yeye, who's an artist, like a painter, and she does all this creative art. It makes me want to express with new mediums now. And a retrograde is a perfect time to practice and play around. What new information has come into your conscious awareness in the last 3 months? What needs revisioning, reevaluating, redoing, rearranging, rebuilding, recovering, rediscovering, reviewing, renewing, restoring, repairing? What kind of review will you do during this time? How will you review your way of thinking and processing data and your thoughts, your ideas, your concepts, perceptions, modes of expressing who you are, what you want, and how you feel? Okay, how will you review all those things and give yourself a conscious upgrade? Then the last general thing I want to put on the table comes from our divinations, which were pretty juicy and pretty lengthy, so I hope y'all can hang for the duration. Otherwise, definitely circle back to the replay. But I'm working with the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards, which are Alberto Violdo and Colette Baron-Reed and Marcela Lobos. And I pulled the fire and water cards out to just talk about those signs. So the fire signs are always Aries, Leo, Sag, and the water signs are always Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. And everybody's got it somewhere, and everybody's got these elements somewhere. And most of you, at least that have taken classes with me or been in my circles, should know your elemental balance so that you know when you need to supplement because you don't have a lot of it, and when you need to watch out because you have too much. And when it's activated in the sky and you have a lot of that same element, it can be a big production. Now, it can be wonderful and potent and powerful, but it can also be destructive and crazy and overwhelming and intense in terms of your emotions and thoughts. And in this case, fire rules our spiritual self. Water is the soul because it's body, soul, and mind, spirit. When I look at water and fire, I look at them that way too. Water is body, soul. Fire is mind, spirit. They're good. They're all amazing. We need all the elements. It's just how we combine them and how we get anything done. And like I said, with a Mercury retrograde, following the elements can sometimes be a little bit more helpful than trying to go into the details of what that specific one might be. Okay, I'm going to do the fire, water, and then we'll take a break for questions before I dive in. Fire in this deck is number 19, so we're going to have lots of numbers tonight. I hope Kimberly's here. In this one, they do the essence, the invitation, and the medicine, so we love it. And for fire, the essence is fire consumes anything that it touches. The flames remind us of the impermanent nature of reality and how situations can quickly transform into beauty or chaos. Fire is passion, and its dancing flames invite us to reach to the sky. Warmth and light are heavenly, yet too much heat can scorch us. To fully step into the energy of fire is to be utterly transformed, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Warm your hands, says the invitation, and your heart by your inner fire. Let it burn away your hardships. Let it consume your pain and your sorrow. Has life become too rigid, too cold, or too superficial? Light a candle or make a bonfire and toss into the flames everything that has become stiff and painful. Give it all to the fire for rapid transformation. Set your life on fire. The medicine says, are you feeling too fiery? Have you been reactive and short-tempered toward others? This card has come to tell you that all fiery emotions directed at others can backfire on you or at you. It is not a good idea to play with fire when you are out of balance or angry. Now is not the time to act or react. It is time to tame and befriend your inner fire so that it does not scorch you. Deep breath. So let's think about that according to the signs. Aries, Leo, Sag. They're all good. They're all creative. They're all passionate. They're all very honest and pretty blunt and truthful. Like, this is what it is, so we have to be mindful of our definitions of truth and how we respond and how we express our truth. All the retrogrades are in fire, going backwards to reset things in fire. So we want that transformation. We want that phoenix from the ashes for our own spirit and our mind-spirit connection, and we want it for our creative babies and our creative ideas and the things that we want to birth in the new year, okay? So we want to absolutely apply this to all our creative projects going forward as well, but knowing that the reset has to happen on the fire side. Going forward in water, except for the Leo one, is where the forward motion, the reset, recalibration is going to be felt. It's going to be deep. And water in this deck is number 61. The essence says water symbolizes purification, regeneration, birth, revival, and cleansing. So think of the change and transformation fire represents, and then the flow and the feeling that water represents. It signifies an evolutionary shift from former self to new self. Many myths around the world speak of a great flood, and the new life that is revealed after the deluge. Water begins with boundaries. And think of that too. If we burn it down and we start all over, we're going to have to rebuild structures, foundations, and boundaries going forward. And think of them again as your mental body, your own thinking and self-expression, and the creative ideas and creative projects you're going to be working on in 25. So as it begins with boundaries, then as soon as form has separated itself from water, which is primal source energy, it comes under the laws of time and life, thus acquiring limitations. Deep breath. The invitation says, when water arrives, you are invited to watch your emotions. Know that they are going to be changeable, and do not settle on a conclusion at this time. If you feel joy, feel that fully. If you feel sad, allow sadness to move through you. Water invites you to see the ebb and flow of events and trust that you can ride the wave of opportunity when it arrives. Natural flow is here. Go with it. Deep breath. The medicine says this is a time for cleansing unwanted energy and sticky feelings. Consider this. What water does to flesh, it does in sacred ritual to spirit. The spiritual cleansing, like baptism, is the opportunity to get an instantaneous experience of the timeless, non-ordinary reality in which all true creation takes place. Now is also a time that is pregnant with potential for you. Think of us going into 26 with all water. So that's another reason why with fire we can still change some things around with our ideas. When it gets to that water zone, we're going to want to flow with it. Carl Jung talked about the maternal, womb-like significance of water as a universal symbol. Water represents the potentiality of existence. It precedes and sustains every creation. Deep breath. Get the memo. Emergence from it is manifestation. Immersion in it is dissolution of form. Because of this, it symbolizes regeneration. Make way for the process. You can expect it to be messy, but worth it. Ashe. Deep breath. So the fire and water elements are going to be the overall vibration that you should think about. And for my people that just want to sort of know the bullets and the bottom line, you're good to go. Anyone that wants details, we're about to go deeper. So I will take a little quick pause.
I have a question. So how does this affect the air element?
The other elements. Okay, good question. Well, the opposite of water is earth, and the opposite of fire is air. So we're still going to need our other elements. You're just going to be integrating. So if you have strong fire and the fire is initiating, you're going to have to integrate on your air side. If you have strong air and the fire is initiating, you're still going to have to integrate. They're opposite each other. So there's a balance and an integration for my air and earth people. That has to happen to, again, with your mental ideas. We want to expand them with air and give them form with the earth side. As we change them with fire and water, we're going to change our thinking. We're probably going to reallocate resources to do our creativity a different way. There's going to be changes that happen that the air and earth side of you is going to have to deal with a different kind of way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, darling. Good question. So like I said earlier, I broke them into 3 parts. We're going to talk about each, so they're just all contained. We're going to talk about the activations and the divinations, and then go on to the next one. We're starting at the beginning of the year with the Aries Pisces retrograde. Will be February 14th through May 10th is the whole 3 weeks before, 3 weeks of, 3 weeks after zone. In the post call goodies, I'll make sure you have exact dates, but the big one you need to know is that it's going to retrograde at 9 Aries on March 15th and go direct at 26 Pisces on April 7th. So that's the first retrograde period. Every time Mercury does its retrograde, it resets a cycle with the sun. Sometimes it's going direct and hits the sun, and sometimes it's retrograde and hits the sun, but either way, it always hits it. It doesn't hit it 3 times like all the other planets when it's retrograde, but it hits the sun once, and that's the activation, technically, of the new cycle. So for our new year, it'll start March 24th. When I give you these dates, These are good prayer days. These are days to light a candle, put a glass of water, write out a petition about your ideas, thoughts, and concepts, your own thinking and self-expression, and how you might want that to evolve. That March 24th date would be a good day to just set the cycle for that quarter going forward, how you want to move forward, again, with your ideas and self-expression. But while it's backwards in Aries, it's going to connect with Pluto in Aquarius. So there's definitely a huge transformation that's rooted in your unique contribution and your identity and purpose. But the sextile makes it a good angle, but still a process because it's going to hit it 3 times over. And so we're transforming who we are within the context of our community. We're changing our mind and our thinking about who we want to associate with. There's probably a lot of that in the social collective. But individually, we're wanting to dial it in our Aries and Aquarius departments. So your identity and purpose and how you really make moves, make choices and decisions in the world as an individual. And then where's that place in the larger story, because Pluto's a collective planet, in Aquarius, which is undergoing a process for the next 20 years of transformation in that house. So as things change in our Aquarius house, with Pluto lingering there for 20 years, a very slow cooking going on the back burner there, every year when the planets hit various signs, it's going to interact with Pluto. In this case, it's fire and air, which work well together. So again, with the creativity changing and how you want to express changing in really deep, profound ways. Then as it moves through Pisces, it's going to link up with Neptune for the last time in 165 years. So that's a pretty big deal of initiating all new thinking in terms of where your beliefs and your thinking line up, right? Where sometimes we can be conflicted in different ways. Lately, we've had other planets pushing on that to give us a little bit of a crisis of faith. So we're wanting to rebuild that strength of our belief system and at the same time be able to trust our ideas and trust our intuition about where we need to channel our creativity in each quarter. How do we do that? And this is initiating a really brand new beginning because the first 2 connections are all Pisces, but the very last one in the new year will be 0 point Aries. So here's where Mercury lines up with Neptune and Saturn. This is what makes it micro to macro in terms of it being a completely new day. I don't know how much to emphasize. 0 Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. It's the very beginning. And so when it happens up in the sky in these bigger cycles, and even now with Mercury in this little cycle, it's a big deal because it's a complete reset. So we're going to trust that. And there's a one-hit thing that it does while it's in Aries where it touches base with Venus retrograde in Aries. March 11th of the new year, Venus will already be backwards on her fire-water zone, Aries-Pisces cusp. So this is another thing that happens every now and then where Mercury's speed and Venus's speed are very different. But every once in a while, they line up together. So that means we get to add even more potency to our creative ideas because Venus represents relationships and finances. So now we're talking about how we can make money with our ideas, but also the partnerships and collaborations that might be possible with that. Now, because Venus is backwards and Mercury is forwards, this is an interesting meeting. This is where you're going to be ready to move on some new ideas, and Venus is going to be like, wait a minute, we're realigning the values and priorities. We can't move on it just yet. But that's 8 Aries, and so anyone that has strong Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, that's going to be a very big new beginning and a good prayer day, March 11th, to think about that. Now, the other thing I look at when I'm looking at the activations for these is what happens right before Mercury goes into its zone and what happens right after. And for Aries Pisces, February to May of the early part of the year, on February 25th, Mercury has an initiation with Saturn in Pisces. This is another one that's a really big deal. I mean, I haven't looked at it, but yeah, this is going to be the last one because after this, Saturn moves on. And by the end of the year, it's in Aries. So this is about giving those foundations and structures and protocols and boundaries, different things that Saturn represents with our ideas. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to update my website. This is a container that needs a new form and structure. If you're a writer and you write books or anything that you are pouring your creativity into, that form and structure is what is ready to be birthed anew. The challenge is that we get this impetus to create the new structure right before Mercury goes retrograde. So that tells me that we're going to be getting more and more clear about what we want to do that way, but we have to reset some things before we can do it. And then on the back end, when it comes out of the retrograde with Aries, Pisces, it'll be moving on. And May 5th, Mercury in Aries will link up with Jupiter in Gemini. And then right after that, Jupiter moves into Cancer, and that's it for 12 years. So I feel like the new forms for our creativity, or let's say the new, more practical thinking, or the more structure to our spiritual practices that support our monkey mind and keeps us mentally sane and healthy, if we can reset that, reorganize some things backstage, then going forward with Jupiter and Gemini, we can expand in so many brilliant ways, so many juicy, delicious ways. But there is an internal rewiring that has to happen first, and then you can go out and share it with the world. So with all that in mind, our divinations, the way I did, and this was organic, this is a new layout to a certain extent, and definitely with these cards, I did one card for the retrograde, one card for the direct, one card for shadow, and then there was this other little evolution that took place that gave us a bonus card. So for retrograde at 9 Aries, we got number 32, the Luminous Warrior. The essence says the Luminous Warrior has no enemies in this world or the next. He is impeccable in word and deed. He focuses on his light rather than on what hides in the dark. Since he casts no shadow, he is as radiant as the sun and can transform his most terrible enemy into his ally. His power comes not from the sword, but from speaking his truth at all costs. Now, think Mercury and Aries, and retrograde at that. We're reviewing this, right? We're going back over this part of ourselves. The invitation says, the Luminous Warrior reminds you that it is important to focus on your power, wisdom, and beauty. Do not be seduced by what seems wrong with you or with the world. Remember that intention follows attention, so focus on your positive traits. Feed your light with more light until you feel truly empowered. Then there will be little need for action as you resolve all situations from within, which is also another Aries principle. So we're also resetting our mind back to our original truth, the one that is for your individual self. Remember what we say, self-preservation is not selfish. It is the first law of nature, and it is essential to survive, right? But we're not doing survival mode. We are just doing self-preservation. The medicine says, are you being tempted by your emotions to follow your lower instincts? And what I say earlier about the triggers with water, fire, right? Are you being invited to enter into a quarrel with someone? Put your sword away. This is not time for battle. Your enemy is not even who you think it is. Deep breath. Do not act from a place of anger that will damage your relationships and hurt the ones you care for. Find the truth hiding in your heart that will affirm your instinct for peace rather than for war, I say. So, again, the other reminder about any planet in Aries, and especially Mercury, it's always you, it's always you. If it's in Aries, it's about you. It's about your thinking, your ideas, your creativity, your perceptions. So this is what's getting reviewed so we can activate that luminous warrior. I want that activated. But now the direct in Pisces, 26 Pisces, is number 44, the sacrifice. The essence says to sacrifice means to make sacred. This is in the etymology dictionary. The sacrifice is an offering of gratitude made from the heart, a feast of love prepared for spirit. In olden days, sacrifices sometimes involved rituals in which blood was offered to the gods. For example, in the Bible, Yahweh preferred Abel's sacrifice of one of his lambs to Cain's offering of vegetables and fruits. In Middle America, however, Quetzalcoatl, the Lord of the Dawn, came to teach that spirit preferred our songs and our prayers to the blood of humans and animals. Deep breath. So our songs and our prayers are just as powerful, if not more. The invitation says the sacrifice asks you to offer to spirit that which is most precious to you. Your offering will be sanctified and returned tenfold. You will be elevated to the altar at which you have been praying and meet the divine at the table with the heavenly feast. You are a welcome guest in this banquet. Your heart is the only worthy offering you can bring. Life has been generous with you in so many ways. Deep breath. The medicine says, what is the one person or thing that you feel you cannot live without? It is time to offer it all to Spirit so that it may unfold as it will. Do not cling to the old form or allow your sacrifice to weigh heavily upon you. You have sacrificed yourself and your dreams for too long. Now is the time to rededicate yourself to your own journey. Deep breath. When you make sacred, you open the doors to infinite wealth. Do not delay. I know that's right. So I'm thinking we're going to have to give up something that we might have been a little attached to because it's not for our highest good, and or we all need to add some imagination and some feeling to something that we just maybe wanted to do for the sake of doing. Let's meditate on that. Ask for your own guidance. Use your own oracles to confirm what it is for you. The shadow card for this particular retrograde, and this is for the community, is number 14, the curse. Deep breath. The essence says the curse refers to the limiting stories of our ancestors and the karma from former lifetimes that preordains the events of our lives. It is the source of negative patterns, and it can show up as a disease, a destructive force, or a blockage on our creative energy. So this is the shadow we have to be mindful of during that particular retrograde. The curse holds us hostage to a false story that we confuse for reality. Recognizing the original wound that is playing out in our life can actually heal it. Deep breath. The invitation says it is time to recognize the source of your limitations. Did your grandparents live with a mindset of scarcity? Did you inherit genes for heart disease? Were you a slave or a master in a past life? This karmic legacy is ready and waiting to be seen, to be untangled, and to be released. Honor the players and their stories. Forgive everyone and everything. Craft a new life course for yourself. Deep breath. The medicine says, be aware of your actions. Act with impeccable intention so as not to create a debt or karma that sooner or later someone has to pay. What you do to others, you also do to yourself and to the people you love the most. Now you have the opportunity to clean it up. Okay, so here's the thing about that Pisces-Aries cusp too, is it's ending new beginning. When we say the water's the primal source energy for body and soul, okay? This is the deepest part of us. So we say Cancer feels it for the family. We're empathic for everybody, but especially the family. Scorpio feels it for the individual. Feel it for everybody, but especially when it happens to you or someone you love. And Pisces feels it for the world. So this is almost like social and collective completion of consciousness and a mode of expressing that is coming to an end, we know. But that birth that happens as it goes forward is going to be so powerful. And it might be that we've inherited things from our primal Pisces zone that we birth out and express in our Aries zone. Either, no matter how you look at it, we want to use that time and use this energetic support that it's given us to pay attention to how things unfold so we can co-create and not be a victim. And then the bonus card was number 9, completion. The essence says all things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is the nature of life, the seed, the flower, and the fruit, and of all human relationships. Completion suggests the fullness of the moment and the need to transform an old form into a new one. So we're going to be doing that too, transforming all our old ideas into some new thinking that can work better going forward. But it might take us 25 to figure it out and get it right and play with the forms until they're just right. The invitation says you have finished a cycle and there is no more growth or benefit from hanging on to the old. In regard to relationships, it is time to honor what has been and find a new form for the future. In your ventures, it is time to reap your harvest. Completion is a time for celebration. It is the end of summer when the fruit is ripe. Deep breath. The medicine says clinging to the old form will bring only decay. When fruit is left too long on the vine, it rots. You know that it is time to move on, yet you are reluctant. Do not be afraid of hurting anyone else's feelings. Remember that you are responsible for your own actions, not the actions of others. Mourn what is lost so that you can move on. Do not be sad. Be like the sun at midday, who shines brightly, neither longing for the sunrise nor dreading the dusk. Deep breath. Yeah, we do need to take our cues from nature to be more balanced. That's real. So that's our first one all together. The Leo one is going to be during the window of June 26th to September 2nd. It's going to retrograde at 15 Leo on July 17th, and it's going to go direct at 4 Leo August 11th, and it doesn't enter Virgo until September 2nd. So that whole zone of July, August is solid Leo. Now, before, when it's in Cancer, it's going to link up with Venus in Taurus. That's a powerful creative zone. So this is what I'm thinking too, is that the Leo retrograde, because it's Leo, is going to have a lot more to do with our creativity and self-expression, which often is rooted in our self-love and self-worth. But then, right before Mercury goes into Leo, it's in Cancer linking up with Venus. This is a little preliminary creativity going on. But then it's going to retrograde in Leo. Venus will have moved on to Gemini, and it's going to hit it again. So it's like 2 times with Venus, not technically, related to the retrograde, but it's going to be part of it. And so we are recalibrating our values and priorities around how we want to create, how we want to express, what we want to be known for. Think about your reputation, your presentation to the world. Like I said, if we're rebirthing any kind of containers, that has a lot to do with what you present to the world. And then the actual retrograde, it's going to hit the sun like it always does. July 31st initiates the whole new cycle. Oh, the other before is with Pluto. So again, with transformation. I'm almost certain it hits Pluto all 3 times. This is what's deep because it's always fire to air. So that is something you should also keep in the back of your mind. It's like we're transforming, transcending, we're purifying and distilling back to essence certain ideas with every single turn, okay? Which also means it's going to be pretty intense with every single turn because you just don't get out of it when Pluto's involved. So let's think about the changes and integrations that have to happen before we reset the creativity and self-expression. Then you want to go into creativity and self-expression, reorganize your thinking and ideas around that, because after, Mercury is going to mix it up with Mars. And that's a whole different ballgame. So that's another thing to think about. Our feminine is recalibrating, so how we contain, nurture, and protect, but also how we receive, right, is recalibrating before our thinking. And then once we recalibrate our thinking and we go forward, our choices and decisions are going to change. Our actions and choices are going to change. So that's kind of deep. And the divinations for the Leo one come with, again, we did one for the retrograde, one for direct, one for shadow, and a bonus. So for retrograde, we're looking at number 7, the child, in this deck. The essence says the child knows the way to joy and happiness. The child offers the return of a second innocence, a time born of wisdom and not of naivete. This card allows you to correct your course and offers you a second chance. It brings you the possibility of redemption and entering heaven while still on earth. Ooh, deep breath. So let's think about this where our thinking and self-expression is concerned, our ideas and thoughts and creativity, and how we need to get back to that innocent child heart. We need to be our authentic selves. And part of Leo can be, or shadow side of Leo, can be wanting to be seen a certain way even though you're not a certain way, or wanting others to perceive you a way that you're really not in your heart. So we don't want to do that. That's being false and fake and phony, and we don't do that. So we're recalibrating the thinking so that it expresses more authenticity here. The invitation says the child is here to release you from the habit of being yourself and to help you acquire a beginner's mind so that you can see life as if for the first time. Remain open to learning and discovery. Who is your spouse or partner today? Can you see them with fresh eyes? Who is looking back at you in the mirror this morning? Become a mystery unto yourself and reconnect with the sense of childlike wonder. Then the medicine says the child comes to show you how you can correct the course of your life without being punished, Ashe. Set yourself free from your conditioning for suffering. You were born unfettered and happy and can be so again if you make the choice right now. The child will help you climb out of the hole that you may have dug yourself into to rediscover your sense of play. So that's another one that is vitally important to me that I'm always harping on is comedy and music. These are things that help keep me happy when it could be really dark. And so you want to find those things that always activate your heart. Think Leo heart. And attachments. What are you attached to? Are there ideas you're attached to? People, stories. Again, we're changing the story every time, too. Now, that's when it goes backwards. We're reviewing, revising, going back over. We're healing, integrating that child zone. Now, when it goes forward, we get the Rainmaker, which is number 42. The essence says the Rainmaker is the master of manifestation who can call on the elements of nature to serve the greater good. When the power to co-create is used with integrity, great beauty and benefit flow to all, which is, again, when we're in our best Leo self, oh my God, it's nothing but integrity, beauty, and benefits for everybody. It's beautification of your ideas, of your presentation, of yourself, all of it. When this power is used for personal gain only, everyone suffers. When the earth is parched, the Rainmaker calls the waters from the heavens, and all that is dormant in the fields and in people's hearts springs to life once again. The invitation says the Rainmaker is calling you to create something new from the elements that are already in your life. So that's where the review can get pretty juicy too. Because you know what else I think of with that one? Is go back over old ideas that never took or it wasn't the right time or place or people and see if they have any juice in them, any vitality, any life force still there. And it might spark a new creativity. That's what is another good thing about a Mercury retrograde. You can dust off some old ideas and bring them back. Be sure you work with what is and not with what might be or could have been. The seeds that have been silently germinating in your heart will burst forth ready for the sunlight. Do not hold back. Put all your chips in the next roll of the divine dice. That's a new one. The medicine says recognize how you are co-creating your own world. Nothing is happening, quote unquote, out there without your involvement. Remember that the world is only mirroring back to you the condition of your love and your intent. So change these within before you take any action. Do not take life personally. Okay, deep breath. So that's another thing. When I say Aries is all about you, Leo's all about you too. And when we get to Sag, it's all about you and what you believe to be true or possible for yourself. So it's still all about your consciousness. This is about your heart, and in Aries, it's about your identity. So deep breath. That was the direct motion. Now the shadow card was number 5, the beloved. The beloved, in essence, is the recognition of spirit in another and moving towards spirit through the other. It is when the divine appears to us in the form of our child, our partner, our friend, and we experience being in love. As we grow, we start to recognize the beloved in everyone, not confusing their personality with their divine nature, Ashe. The invitation says, accept the invitation to learn through the path of love. Expand your being through union with another. When you recognize the beloved in another, you call forth their highest and purest nature. Follow the path of love. The medicine says, be careful with romantic love and the kind of love that you fall in and out of. Own all the projections you have placed upon the person you are dreaming of. Remember that they are only mirroring back to you your own deep longings rather than revealing their true selves. Ooh, deep breath. If you fail to notice this, be prepared to walk through the fire of strong emotions once again. Ooh, deep breath. So this is the shadow of Leo. We can be so caught up in the romance of it or the possibility, again with the potential. All the fire signs do this too. We see so much potential, but if that potential is not grounded in something, activated in some kind of force within it, if it's not contained, nurtured, and protected, then it stays potential. It never becomes anything. Now our Leo one, the general guidance, the bonus card, we got magic and number 33, which is a magical number. The essence says this symbol represents the infinite intelligence of great spirit that makes up the fundamental fabric of the universe. We experience the evidence of this magic through synchronicity or meaningful coincidence. Deep breath. The invitation says, when magic appears, you're invited to see the world through the eyes of wonder and awe, taking in the innocence of a child who knows that all things are possible. Infinite potential exists in the great mind, and you are being invited to call it in and recognize the dance in synchronistic events, signs, symbols, and omens given to you through the oracle of the ordinary world. That's right. Spirit's always talking to you through different ways all day long. This is a sign that Spirit is reminding you that you co-create your world in sacred partnership. Your part is to dream, to intend, and to watch for the signs that show you what next action to take. Right now, it appears that you are on the right track to make your dreams come true. Great Spirit is listening and acting on your behalf. Pay attention. Magic gives birth to miracles. Deep breath. The medicine says, have you forgotten that you live in a world that is infused with magic? Perhaps you've become cynical and think you have to create your life all by yourself with no help from others. So another thing about Leo, we're very social in Leo, love to be around people. This part of us really likes to be sociable. So we may have to recalibrate some things to be able to do that, is my point. It's time to remember your relationship to Source, for you are a part of the story of the world, a living spark of spirit living on earth for this short time as an emissary of light. If you look back over your life, you will find many instances in which your actions alone were not the cause out of the blue coincidences that led you to that new relationship or new job or other important moment on your journey. So how do you stay in this awareness? The answer is simple. If you can be as a little child and cultivate that wondrous curiosity, you will see the magic again and be amazed. Remember, magic is real and it's in everything. I say, yes indeed. So maybe by the end of the summer, early fall, we'll be feeling that way again. These divinations will be in the post called Goodies, so you can see the beautiful cards and go back to anything you want to go deeper into. All right. Sag Scorpio, the last one in 25, and when we will be preparing for 26 by that point. This is pretty juicy. Lots of initiations and ease and grace, but still a recalibration that has to happen. That's good. This one goes October 6th of 2025 through January 1st of 2026. So we're just going to say through the end of the year, right? It's going to retrograde at 6 Sag on November 9th, and it's going to go direct at 20 Scorpio on November 29th. Beforehand, we're going to be working with Neptune in the imagination and our faith and our beliefs, recalibrating things in a kind of a very new way. And then after is a whole new ballgame. So let's talk about in between here. As Mercury moves through Sag, it's actually going to link up with Mars, twice in Sag and once in Capricorn, but 3 times over. Mercury's going to hit Mars. So our thinking and our actions and our choices is, again, getting reset to a new beginning. And Sag Scorpio is a lot of conception, real new beginning stuff that we'll be dreaming about because we'll be in a new place. We'll be in a whole new mindset by then. And because it's fire, it's going to interact with Pluto. So we've already touched on Pluto enough to say that it's going to be transformative with all 3 retrogrades throughout the year, and this one is no different. The only shifts will be one is in Aries, one is in Leo, and one is in Sag, mixing it up all with Pluto and Aquarius. So that one stays the same, but the things that change will be what Mercury's doing. Also, as it moves through Sag, what else we got? That's it. That was the main thing that happens with the Sag part. As it moves through Scorpio is where the bulk of the work is going to be. Because as it moves through Scorpio, it's going to be opposite Uranus, which means there's an awakening to our consciousness and to our soul level thinking. Again, think body and soul, how you process, digest, and integrate ideas and thoughts and concepts. And again, with the input-output recalibration that has to happen with every single one as well. That's not a bad thing. Again, it's earth and water, so we want to come out of that creative and liberated and on a new level of all new ways of expressing. Because, again, with Scorpio Taurus, it's the conception point and then what manifests out of that. So we're going in to conceive anew, and then we're going to come out and act on it going forward, which we will because on the backside it touches Jupiter and Mars, and it's going to be huge. Because it's in Scorpio, it's going to link up with the Sun and Venus in Scorpio. As it does that, it's going to hit both Sun and Venus. So these are big prayer days. I would write this down. On November 20th, is Mercury's still backstage. We're still recalibrating. But part of the juju for that day, you would want to, if you are open and receptive, to light a candle, put a glass of water, and write out a petition about any new concepts of how you want to express your identity and purpose. So think about that on November 20th. This is 2025. And then November 24th, 4 days later, it's going to hit Venus back to back in a Scorpio here. All Scorpio, all initiation, all new beginnings. Here we're talking relationships and finances, though, and again with your mental outlook around how they flow, what's going on. With Scorpio, we get to totally rebirth. It's all rooted in our self-worth and value, so we want to absolutely be recalibrating that along the way and know that those days for Mercury to the Sun on November 20th, Mercury to Venus on November 24th are going to be really powerful resets that are going on backstage that probably won't really show the fruits of all that until you go forward. And then the other juiciness of it being in Scorpio, a water sign, is that it has this ease and grace, but still 3 times over, with Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces. So that's going to be a lot of, let's say, easy changes to your mind because of certain feelings and emotions that you're already going through, like changing your mind about what you think about certain emotional things you've been through. But at the same time, we want to get congruent where we feel right about what we're expressing, about what we're producing, about what the structures and forms and containers we're going to use to hold our creative babies, whatever they are, right? And how we're going to conceive ourselves in such a new way that going forward we can be in our own natural flow of self-expression and still be in alignment with our truth and purpose and our faith and belief system. Just knowing that it's all getting recalibrated. So there's going to be this upgrade and shift in your thoughts and feelings and how they interact with each other so that you can go forward, because after the Sag Scorpio one, when Mercury hits Jupiter in Cancer, it'll be Capricorn to Cancer, and it'll conjunct Mars in Capricorn. So here we have this alignment going on with your thinking and your self-expression and your creative ideas. Mars, that determination and everything in Capricorn, wanting to ground it, to honor the ancestors, to make it a long-term success. Jupiter expands your reach. That's just such a juicy combo to have right after that last retrograde. So that is our Scorpio Sag one. And now the divinations for that one, as it goes retrograde in Sag, 6 Sag, and then it goes direct at 20 Scorpio. So as it retrogrades in Sag, we got number 45, the seer. The essence says the seer represents the capacity to reach beyond the obvious details of life into the hidden realms where information is available to those with the discernment to perceive it. Deep breath. This symbol represents psychic perception, intuition, and the capacity to know something without prior exposure. The seer knows truth, always seeks truth beyond all else, and sees reality as it truly is without judgment. The seer can read between the lines and understand what is not being said. He represents the power of clarity and being able to recognize patterns. That's a big deal with the Scorpio's Sag zone, is because it's a lot of our karmic patterns, inherited patterns. It's belief systems that we've been conditioned to that we might have to examine and see if they're really true for our hearts. The invitation says the seer invites you to trust your intuition and follow it as it leads you forward. You may feel lost when it appears that your hunch is taking you in circles or even through a maze, but the hidden realms do not follow the rules of a 2-dimensional map. Trust your gut and allow your perception of your circumstances to widen, to include the nuances and subtle cues that you normally miss if you take things at face value. The seer has gifted you with his magic. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Your vision is clear. Deep breath. This is what we're revising, though. We're going back over, reviewing. The medicine says the seer has arrived now to challenge you to get out of denial and begin telling yourself the truth about your situation. Wishful thinking will not make what you desire happen when you're refusing to see things as they are. The truth may hurt, but it will also set you free to claim the bounty that is waiting for you to notice it. This is a moment of true power. The seer offers you his medicine. When you are ready, surrender your vision to spirit and ask to be shown the truth, no matter the price. Once you do so, your eyes will open and you will receive a powerful gift. So this is recalibrating what you believe to be true or possible for yourself. This is the review of, your beliefs and your ideas, and are you too stuck on potential versus the reality, and where we need to review those things. Or were we thinking too big or not big enough? Most of the time, Sag is trying to tell us to think bigger. And that last one with an interaction with Jupiter, definitely want to think bigger. So let's rethink a few things at that time. And as it goes direct in Scorpio, our guidance was number 49, soul retrieval. The essence says soul retrieval is a practice that helps you recover a part of yourself, your energy, your enthusiasm, or your innocence that you have lost. At first, we will use soul retrieval to recover from our hurts and heal our childhood wounds. Later, we learn to journey to recover our original nature. Ashe, that is true. That self that never left the Garden of Eden, who still speaks to the rivers, to the trees, and to God. When we return to Eden, we are whole again. Deep breath. The invitation says you are no longer fragmented. You are one with creation. You have healed the cause of the pain you feel, so you do not need to dwell on it any longer. Really, it's true. If you are still hovering over an old wound, find a new flight path. Don't be distracted with the little stuff that you've already mastered. Go for the big one, the journey back to home. Deep breath. The medicine says, when did you compromise what you truly believed in to be loved or accepted by someone else? Think back over your life and find the time or times when this happened. Vow never to compromise your integrity again. What have you agreed to in the name of love that you know is deeply wrong? Make it right this instant. Whew, deep breath. So the other thing about Sag and Scorpio is you can't really hide from yourself or your truth or your soul's longing and needs, right? So this is where we get to our soul self and our higher self, and we really dig into how we process and integrate those ideas around those parts of ourselves that should be guiding our way. Now, the shadow for Sag Scorpio time is number 48, the sorcerer. The essence says, this is the source of dark power. The sorcerer represents the destructive aspect of the human psyche and the self-centered behavior that harms others. It symbolizes the unconscious beliefs and the ideas that foster separation, conflict, and scarcity. The invitation says, when the sorcerer enters your circle, you are being called to look at how your beliefs around scarcity and self-centered fear manifest in your world. Examine the destructive part of your psyche that misuses power or harbors feelings of resentment, vengeance, lust, greed, bigotry, or hatred. Perhaps you have harmed someone because of these dark tendencies. If so, all is not lost. You have only forgotten that all beings are interconnected and the universe is abundant. The sorcerer arrives to challenge you to change your thinking. You're given a second chance. Correct your course and practice not blaming others for the darkness that lives inside you. Make peace with it and choose another way. Deep breath. The medicine says, have you been feeling out of sorts because you've been faced with your own character flaws and the pain that you inflict on others when you are out of alignment? Deep breath. Radical self-acceptance is called for now. You must reconcile these darker aspects of your nature so that you do not behave irresponsibly and cause more harm to yourself and the ones you love. It's time to come out of denial and accept responsibility for your words and deeds. When you meet the energy of the sorcerer with humility, this destructive power transforms into grace, which you can use in service to the highest good. Perhaps it's time to make amends. Do it. It will set you free from the shadows and let you step into the light. Okay, deep breath. Now, I'm always about the individual. So this may be happening with you and other people, but I'm still all about you looking internally to see where your beliefs might be undermining you or where your shadow, undealt with shadow things and pains and different losses. That's the Scorpio, is that ruled by Pluto, death, rebirth, and transformation. And sometimes when we hang on over long, it makes it more painful when it's ripped out anyway. Like it's going to end anyway, so you might as well do it yourself. Then our final card is the general guidance for overall October to December of 2025, number 50, the spiral. I love the spiral. The essence says from galaxies in the sky to diminutive shells at the beach. The spiral is found extensively in the natural world. Its shape in the form of a coiled serpent has been used since ancient times as a tool for growth and transformation. The spiral is a guide for entering deep into one's consciousness and the unknown, and then extending far out into the heavens. It is crucial to surrender to this journey until the exhausted paradigm dissolves in the depths of the psyche and its energy is released to give birth to a new reality. Ashe. The invitation says to renew yourself, you must shed your old skin. You have already done this, so do not keep scraping away at the old, but welcome the soft new skin that is starting to grow. Break the habit of working on your faults all the time and let nature take its course. Know that a new skin feels vulnerable and scary at times. Trust the medicine of the spiral as it guides your journey of renewal. Deep breath. The medicine says the spiral announces a descent to the depths and a rebirth. Allow nothing to get in the way of this process, as the time is right and the forces of nature are supporting you in this endeavor. Using stones, twigs, or yarn, build a spiral on the ground that is large enough to walk through with at least 3 turns. Enter the spiral slowly. Once in the center, offer to the earth the feelings or situations that you no longer want in your life. As you walk back the way you entered, feel recharged for your new journey. Deep breath. And that will end the year and will be in preparation for an all-water year of 2026. So that's the breakdown for all 3 and the divinations to support all 3. And I hope that you will circle back periodically throughout the year and as they are related to you. I have Mercury Retrograde activations. It's only $75 to get the whole year, and you can get all the activations that might be affecting you. I do recommend that you reach out and let me know first before you pay, because some people won't have activations. So we need to look at it first, make sure there's enough there for you to play with, and then you can place your order. I am so grateful for those that hung so late, and yes, we're going to be super creative with this one. So we don't want to be upset about the thoughts and emotions that might be going sideways. We want to use it for creativity. Yeah, let's really lean into that creative part and change, transformation, and rebirth. Like, think of fire and water as we got to change and transform it and then rebirth it and flow with it a whole new way. And we can do that with our mental if we could control our boundaries and our input-output a little better. I think that would be, or at least feel, a little healthier. All right, y'all. Peace and love. Reach out directly when you need to, and join me next time.